Good to see you guys. Always exciting to be here. I got to meet some new folks today. I get a chance to share the Bible with you today. Kind of like, I noticed that no one's sitting up close. Maybe that was a speaking problem. You're thinking, that Travis, he's going to start getting excited and just flying out. Nevertheless, I'll talk to you either way. Since the practice school. Thank you, Fred. Listen, my name's Ed. So if you haven't met me, I've been around New Life for a long time, and one of my favorite things to do is to be able to be here to share the Word of God with you guys. I am at a place in life where I can kind of look back on things in life and see it from a completely different perspective than I could at 20. But I was thinking, and I wonder if anyone else does this. Have you ever look at someone else's life and think, you wouldn't necessarily trade lives with them, but you would take their life? You know what I'm saying? Not still there. I think that all the time. But God's working in my life. Seriously, you look at their life, you see how they live, you see what's going on in their life, the kind of things they've done or accomplished, or the kind of, the lifestyle, whatever it is, and you think, man, I would like to have their life. If I could just have a little bit of what they have, I would be happier. That ever happened to you? At 20, I was thinking about this just the other day. I was thinking, at 20, there are 3 people in my life I would switch with absolutely and think, if you could sell it to me at 20, hey, you could have this. I would have given you a ton of things just to make that happen. I didn't have a lot of money at 20, but I would have given you all I had. This is the deal. There were 3 guys. The first guy is named Daniel. Daniel was a state champion wrestler. Now, I would trade lives with him because when I was in high school, I was obsessed with being a great wrestler. My whole goal in high school, all the workouts, all the meals I had to skip, all the weight I had to cut, all the grueling practices, all the running I did, everything I did with one goal in mind. That somehow, some way, by my time I was a senior, I would make the state tournament. I didn't think, I had no illusion. I didn't think I could win a state tournament. I just wanted to play or get there in the state tournament. I thought maybe if I could make a state tournament in Division I, I'd be able to go to college somewhere, at a small college, walk on the team, and possibly end up becoming a wrestling coach. That was my dream. Daniel was a state champion wrestler. He was the best in the entire state. On top of that, he got full rides to the Naval Academy, and he was on the wrestling team there. The second guy I would trade lives with when I was 20 was a guy named Ed. So not myself in third person, but a friend of mine named Ed. Ed was a musician. He was really great at everything. You saw Andrew up here playing 2 pieces. Like, this guy can play everything. He's incredible. And he played, he was from the band one time, and a national recording act came in, and he got to open up for that band. Well, my buddy also played bass. They were looking for a bass player, and he got the gig working for a national recording act, out of Austin, Texas. But they put out an album in 2000 that actually charted on the Billboard charts. You go to Rolling Stone magazine, Billboard magazine, they had spreads in both those magazines. They got to play the Conan O'Brien show. They had videos that were incredible. This guy has opened up, their band has opened up for every big country artist back in the day, playing all over the world. Tammy and I went and visited and saw him on the Grand Ole Opry. It was great. He, on top of that, married Miss Tennessee, 1996, who placed 6th in Miss America. She's an actress. So this guy became, he was just a musician, and he got gigs everywhere, playing for music. Just getting paid to play. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine turning on the TV and your videos on TV? I would have traded. There's another guy. I've always been kind of like an entrepreneur at heart, wanting to, create a business, and I eventually did start a company. This guy's name was Chris. Chris was from Indianapolis. Chris started a company, just he and his wife, and they started it just mom and pop, and in 5 years, they had sales of over $2 million a year. They had 25 or so employees in 7 different states, and they literally had created kind of a monopoly in their little, niche of business, what they did. I would have traded in a heartbeat if I could have been that successful at that early of an age. I would have said, man, if I could have any of these 3 lives, I would have been happier, more content. The interesting thing is on this side of it now, as I'm looking back at conversations I've had with him, you see, Daniel, I remember having a conversation with him telling me the state championship was like a noose around my neck. It's the worst thing that's happened to me. Why, Daniel? Because now the pressure to be successful is so intense, it doesn't matter where I go, and I can't get rid of it. When you walk into the room as a state champ, they expect you to be the best at everything you do. You end up dropping out of the Naval Academy, walking away from wrestling completely. My friend Ed, he is still married, and they have a happily, family, and they have 2 kids. He grew to hate the road. He hated it. Why be away from my family? I'm traveling. I'm living out of hotels for months on end. Traveling in a bus, playing the same songs over and over and over again. It's like a grind that wears you down to the point where you just dread this lifestyle. My friend Chris, he was so bored with his company after 5 years that he just thought, this is not enough, I got to do something else. So he started putting all his money in real estate, buying up houses all over Indianapolis, just to try to distract himself from his boredom and his burnout from running the company. When the housing collapse happened in the early 2000s, he lost almost everything. Isn't it interesting that we can look at someone's life and in a snapshot, or maybe you're scrolling through Facebook and think, oh, they look happy. And you think, man, if I could just have that, then I would finally be content, I'd be happy. But on the other side, that everyone's in the same battle, trying to figure out how to be happy. And it may look to you on one side through snapshots like it would work, but the reality is something much, much different. There's a guy in Scripture named Paul. In Philippians 4:12, he wrote to the church at Philippi this statement. I just wanted you to see this one part of the statement. That I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. This is a guy who wrote much of the New Testament, famous church planter, and he had experienced some incredible highs and incredible lows. He had helped see the flourish of Christianity throughout the known world at the time, but he also was almost killed on several occasions, shipwrecked, and put in prison for much of his life. And he's saying, I know the secret of what it means to actually be content, no matter what the circumstances. I want to share that secret with you today, because the Bible actually is pretty clear about what it is, all right? But the deal is I'm going to share with you knowing full well that you're going to walk out of here and you're not going to get it. That's a really difficult position for me to be in, because I'm thinking, when I pray, I'm like, God, what do you want me to say? Like, this is the message. I'm positive this is what I'm supposed to share with you. But I also know, and I'm not naive. I know that many of you are just going to walk out and be like, thanks. And it's not going to work for you. I get it. But for some, I'm telling you, if God's speaking to you today, and this starts to seep in, it's going to revolutionize your life. Because you will start to understand and to put on that path, to understand what it means to be content, no matter what your circumstances are. And the reason it's not going to work, the reason that it's going to be so difficult is because it's completely unconventional. We're in a series that we're starting off, and I get the joy to kick off the series today, Unconventional. It's about how the church isn't basically, where we just meet together, come and see the church. The church is you. You are the church. When you have given your life to Christ, you are the church. And in this series, we're going to kind of explore that theme, and it's an unconventional way of life. The definition of unconventional is this: not based on or conforming to what is generally done or believed. Not based on or conforming to what is generally done or believed. Think outside the box, unconventional. This is not normal. And here's the thing. If you could pick up the secret today, if you could walk out of here and be like, so you're saying that if I just apply this, I could be content no matter what the circumstances. Yes. Wouldn't you want to know that? I mean, whether you've been like a Christ follower your whole life, or whether you're still trying to figure this thing out, no matter where you're at, wouldn't you at least want to know how to be content no matter what? Well, that's what we're going to look at. So I get the joy of trying to share that with you today in hopes that somehow it seeps in, all right? So let's pray. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for me. But listen, maybe you should ask God to actually open up your mind and your heart to the secret, okay? All right. God, this message is so simple, but so unconventional. I'm praying you give me the ability to communicate it well. But God, I'm going to trust in you and your Holy Spirit to speak to the people that you're drawing close to you. That you would talk to them about what it means to be content, and that you would help them. And I pray, God, that people would live a life that's full of meaningful purpose and full of contentedness, Lord. I ask in your Son's holy name. Amen. All right, well, the passage is found in Matthew chapter 16, and I think it's going to speak to this. And it's, like I said, it's very simple. But I'm hoping that we're able to pick it up. But I'm going to kind of break it down into 3 parts. If you open up to the back of your little bulletin, there's kind of an outline so you can follow along. That way you can kind of keep track with me if I start to get crazy and off track or something. Fair enough. If I get way off track, Chris, it's up to you. Make sure I'm staying on. All right, here we go. All right, first thing, let me give you some background. The background here, okay, look, Jesus comes on the scene. He gets his 12 guys, so Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, all of them guys, and he kind of pulls them in, Peter and the gang, and then he's kind of traveling along. He's doing crazy stuff. He's walking on water. He is healing people, making people who are blind have sight, and so he's gaining a lot of popularity, right? Well, the religious elite of that, of Jerusalem are basically trying to gauge him, and they realize he is not affirming them, so they become enemies of Jesus. They're trying to take him out and kill him. Well, what happens is about 6 months to go before the cross, Jesus asks this question: who do you guys think that I am? And Peter steps up and says, you're the Messiah, the Son of the living God. So what's happened here is Jesus has actually been revealed to them as coming from God and the Messiah. The Messiah was someone who was supposed to lead Israel into prominence and destroy all their enemies. The person that comes from God. That's who the Messiah was. But here's what Jesus says, and this is what I want you to say in the first line. Jesus was unconventional. Jesus was absolutely unconventional. Listen to what he says in verse 25. Now from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed on the third day and be raised to life. So Peter takes him aside and begins to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. Jesus turned to Peter and said, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men. So try to imagine or put yourself in a situation, right? So he reveals himself to them. They're like, wow, you're the Messiah. And then he goes, here's the deal. In a little bit, I'm going to head into Jerusalem, and they're going to kill me, and then I'm going to rise from the dead. Imagine that moment. Because if you're one of the disciples, you're thinking, he's the Messiah. We're his guys. Like when he rises up, we're going to be right there with him. We'll talk the apex. We're going to rule. And he goes, I'm going to die. Everything you can imagine. This is where we're heading. This is what we're doing. We're going to build a movement. No, I'm going to die. And then Peter says, listen, Jesus, can you imagine Peter rebuking Jesus? Jesus, come here. I know you're the Messiah. I got to talk to you. You can't do that. Why? Because you're going to kill the movement. So over my dead body. Then he gets rebuked. Jesus says, actually, Peter, get behind me, Satan. That's the ultimate public humiliation, right? Not, Peter, look, you just don't understand me. I'll explain it to you later. Just go along with what I'm saying. Not that. It's hey, get behind me, Satan. Let me tell you why. What Jesus was doing was completely unconventional. When he says, I have to go to Jerusalem and die, that is the essence of the gospel message, the good news. God makes us. He's a God who's actively involved in our lives. He wants to be with you in relationship to you. But because of our sin, basically sin is when we say, I'm going to live life my way and not your way. That's what sin is. And sin separates us, like an offense. God is a righteous God. He gets angry. He pours out his wrath on us when we do not obey. So what does he do? He sends his son down to absorb all of the wrath on the cross. That goes against the grain of every religion. You see, what's conventional wisdom, what's conventional thought about religion is this. You and I, and almost every religion, we, whether it's a God or a next life or a series of gods, whatever it is, we believe somehow if we could just live up to some standard, some behavior, then in the next life we will get something better. Whether we're reincarnated as something better, or whether we get a heaven or a paradise, whatever it is, we believe, and that's what's common to all religion, that if we live a certain way, we will get something else. Christianity is unconventional. God says, listen, I want to be in a relationship to you, but you are jacked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my son down to pay the penalty for all of your stuff so that you can be clean or free to be in a relationship to me. That is unconventional. And the reason that he was saying, get behind me, Satan, is because only Satan would try to stop that from happening. Jesus was unconventional. I like that. I love watching Jesus work. I love what he does. I love watching him be outside the box. There's something about people who are unconventional that just appeals to me. I don't know about you. You ever see someone who kind of does stuff outside the box you like to do? Whether it's a band or whether it's your professor who does something different or whatever it is. There's a guy who's a friend of mine. His name is Travis. He's a pastor of a church down in Grove City, Ohio, which is about 25 minutes south of here. And he started a church 5 years ago, and it grew up to 250 people, and it had a couple services, and they were growing, they were reaching people in Grove City. So let me tell you what happened. You guys imagine this. There's this really big, monstrous church in Grove City. It's 5,000 people. They fired the pastor. A new pastor comes in. The new pastor fires all the leaders and puts in his own people. Okay, so think like regime change on a like coaching center. Like new coach comes in, gets some people in there. I've never even heard of doing that in church before. It's crazy. Well, anyway, one of the leaders of one of the ministries of the church have like 400 people in their ministry. Well, they get mad, right? So they take all 400 people to Travis's church on a Sunday. I'm mad. Now you might think, oh, that's cool. Listen, imagine you plan for 200 and you're doing, you have seats for 200. You have drinks for 200. You have stuff for 200, and 400 more people show up. Can you imagine what that would be like? I looked at him like, Travis, dude, that must have revolutionized your church. He goes, yeah, I told him to leave. I said, you told him to leave? It's like, yeah. What's the matter with you? You stupid. Can you imagine what you could do with 400 more people? You guys could do more people. You can do all. Just, listen, here's the deal. When people leave a church because they're disgruntled, they're soon going to leave you because they'll be disgruntled with you at some point. Because our church, what we do, our goal is to kind of mobilize all the people we have to reach the people of Grove City who are kind of far away from God. And we have trained them through our mission that we're always looking to try to help people who seem far from God. Church people have a tendency to kind of be like inward focused, and if they're just going to show up here, here's what I did. I looked them all in the eye and I said, here's the deal. I heard something happening in Grove City and you guys came here. I want to welcome you to our church. But here's the deal. Our mission as a church are to reach the people of Grove City who are far away. And if you want to join us in that mission, we would love to have you. But if you're not willing to join us in that mission, you are taking the seats. And please do not do that. Who does that? There's something about people who are unconventional that you just kind of admire them. Jesus was unconventional. Who gives up their life to pay someone else's penalty? Who does time for someone who commits a crime? Jesus is not like anyone. He's unconventional. Second, and I gotta speak here. We cannot be conventional and follow Jesus. We cannot be conventional and follow Jesus. This next verse, this is the one. Like if you ever read your Bible, this is the one, man. Here's what he says. And Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. This is not the way to create a movement. Look at your people and say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick up a cross and follow me. Then let me explain what that would mean in that culture. A cross, when you pick up a cross, and it says, lift up your cross high. When you pick up a cross in that society, you knew you were on a death march. When you walked in that community with a cross in your hand, it meant you were on your way to being dead. Jesus is saying, I want you to deny yourself, get rid of your life, pick up a cross and follow me. This is the problem. You and I, our default setting is that we live our lives for ourselves. It's true. You and I, Peter, everyone, our default setting is we interpret everything around us, all of our circumstances, in light of how it's going to affect us. It's completely normal. What Jesus is saying, I want you to give up that focus and follow me. How am I going to do that? That's why this secret to being content is so difficult, because it goes against the grain of everything we know. And I think for Christians and for everyone else, here's the problem. It's normal to be self-focused. So when I interpret circumstances, I think, how's this going to affect me, right? Here's what Christians often do. Christians then hear the message of Jesus and say, okay, I should follow Jesus, right? We hear what he did on the cross, and we think, that's awesome. He died for my sins? How's that? He's unconventional. And we like Jesus. Way to go. Like we tweet out, Jesus said we should die for ourselves. That's great. But inside, we really want to live for ourselves. So we kind of live our lives like this. We're like, oh yeah, I definitely believe in Jesus. This is what I do with my life. I definitely like him. I'm gonna like that Facebook post. That's great, Jesus. Love your enemies. Okay, that's awesome, Jesus. But we live our lives for us, and we kind of expect, Jesus, will you please come into my life and bless my life? What happens is we live for ourselves, and there's that tension, an incredible tension, because we know deep down we can't do this. Jesus is going this way, a life where he's completely selfless, completely caring, completely focused on what the Father's trying to do. And then we're over here doing this, and then there's this battle, this tension inside. That's why Christians can be so discontented. Because there's an inner turmoil. Look, if you're not a Christian, you are free from that. There's no inner turmoil saying, well, I should live like Jesus. Christians, you have a difficult battle inside because you know deep down you should give up your life. And let me tell you something. On this side of the coin of life, at 45, I'm telling you, what I've witnessed by people who are self-focused, eventually they are miserable. It just happens. So desperate to gain, so desperate to achieve, so desperate to have, then it becomes a lot of work just to keep all that, and it just becomes misery inside. We can't be conventional and follow Jesus. It just won't work. So then how do I do it? How do I live a life that's got a meaningful purpose and content? Well, the key to contentment goes against what seems natural to us. That's that last line. The key to contentment goes against what seems natural. Look at the next line where he says. Jesus says, "For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life for me will find it." If you really want life, you want a meaningful, purposeful life full of contentedness, you're going to have to lose it in order to find it. Now, what good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? And Jesus says, look, I'm going to come back. I'm coming for my people. I'm the authority on this. Trust me. That's a famous passage. What can a man give up for his soul? That's from a larger view. But from the immediate view, here's what I'm hearing. So Jesus, you want me to give up all the things I want. These are the things I desire. My goals and dreams. I want to be happy. I think if I'm happy, it would be this and this and this. Or if I could sprinkle in some of that, that's what would make me happy. You're telling me, Jesus, you want me to give up all of that and follow you? Yep. How do you do that? This is the secret. I'm telling you, if you could just simply lose your life, you will find life. That's it. It seems backwards. Like, how? So you want me to give up everything I'm dreaming about to follow you? Yes. Yes. But Jesus doesn't want something from you, as if Jesus needed something. Imagine Jesus going, look, if you could just give me your life, then we can really get this kingdom going. Like, he's the King of Kings. Like, he doesn't really need you. He's really good at what he does anyway. He doesn't want something from you. He wants something for you. He wants to free you from yourself. You see, here's what happens when you live for yourself. You become enslaved to your desires. You become enslaved to your fears. You become enslaved to the opinions of others. Let me explain how your desires work as a trap. You're like, if I could just have this, I would be happy. You get that, and then all of a sudden it's not enough. You have to have more. You think you're happy, and then someone else comes along, they have something else, and then you have to have that. Have you ever seen that around people? You ever seen that in your family? You ever seen that around your friends? They become enslaved by desires. Some Christians, no in this room, I'm sure, they let their desires lead them to things they would never want to do. Do you know why you do that? You know why I've done that? Because I don't want to feel what I'm feeling right here. So I do that because I think I'll feel better. Everybody does it for the same reason. They become enslaved to desires. Their fears. Do you know, I've seen Christians that can't move forward because they're just so afraid. So afraid. Because here's the deal. When you attain something that you think is valuable, the last thing you want to do is give it up. You want to hang on to it. Whether it's your life or your things or your relationship, you want to hang on to it. And if something's going to threaten that, then I am frozen. You become enslaved to that. The opinions of others. How many of you, if your parents didn't affirm you, it would crush you? If your parents have designed a life for you, and if you went against that, there's no. It gets worse. It's your boss. It's a relationship. It's someone else. As soon as you start making other people's opinions what you're trying to achieve, you will become enslaved to it. Jesus is trying to free you from that. And he's trying to free you to something better. When you give up your life, when you give up that, you become so free to notice other people. Imagine driving and always looking out for someone who needs to get out into the crowd. You know? Imagine being on campus and noticing the lonely person first. Imagine you're so free from all of this junk that's cluttering up your life and enslaving you. You're actually free to notice everyone. You know what happens? Everyone starts to become valuable to you. Doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter how old they are, doesn't matter what they have. You're so free from all of this. I just care about everyone. You're free to serve. You're free to engage in something that's actually meaningful. A few weeks ago I talked about, being, we're in a war, we're trying to, push the kingdom forward. And I talked about how young warriors who, even in our body, raised up to start Unchained, and were able to raise, $30,000 to $50,000 to help people in human trafficking. Do you know what frees you to do that? stuff that's dragging you back. And then you start to notice things. It's freeing. Listen, the key to contentment goes against what seems natural. And what seems natural is, I've got to hang on to this. Let go of that. Become free. Let me tell you how I learned this. And that's a snapshot back to me 20 again, okay? 20 years old, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. But I kind of live my life for myself. As a result, I found someone that I could live life with because I really wanted to be in love. So I found someone to be in love with, made a commitment, thought I was going to live my whole life forever with this one person, okay? So I kind of had this relationship. Secondly, I had a job that was really good. I was working at a sporting goods store. I was assistant manager, making great money, getting 2 vacations paid a year, doing a great job there. I think I got a pretty good future. They were actually paying for my education. So it was a great time. I had great friendships, people in my life, great family. Like, I had everything that I could really want at 20 years old. Pretty happy, content. Problem is that I also, because I was living for myself, I was always discontented all the time. For example, in my relationship, I thought, why can't you kind of pay more attention to me? Why can't you love me a little bit more? What's going on? Why are we fighting? What's going on? And on top of that, then, my work, I would just find myself based on the circumstances, I'd be crushed. I'll give you an example. I'm a hardworking guy. I've been in the company like 4 years. They hired another guy in at my level, same position, but I've been there 4 years, and they paid him the same as me. Now you're thinking, okay, yeah, that's what you negotiate. But I was working hard. It was my job. Why would you, this guy, you don't even know him. Why would you pay him what I pay him? At least pay him a little bit less, because I'm better than he is. In fact, I was better than he was on this. He was lazy, but nevertheless, why are they paying him what they're paying me? He's off the street. That's not fair. I've been here 4 years. I've given 4 years of my life. So I would just become enraged by the circumstances. And for instance, I love friends who like me, who I like, but if you were kind of like not like me, if I thought you were rude, I would write you off like, how dare that person? You cut me off in traffic, how dare you? Like, whatever it is. I was always at the kind of enslavement of my circumstances, no matter what they are. That was my life. I love Jesus. I did things, sinful things, that Jesus would never approve of, because I just didn't want to feel what I was feeling back here, and I thought this would make me feel better. You ever do that? Here's what happened. I'm living my life, going along. The girl, she's sleeping with other dudes. And I'm like, you ever had that moment in your life where the carpet gets pulled out? It might have been your major. It might have been with your family and then breaking up. It could have been a girlfriend or boyfriend. Whatever it is. You ever had a moment in your life where the carpet comes out from under you and you're like, And I remember thinking, like, at that time I felt so humiliated, so betrayed, so devastated, to the point where, like, at the first time in my life, at 20 years old, I'm looking up at God and I'm saying, God, you've got to help me. It was no longer, oh, that's cool that you said that. Oh, I like you, God. It was like, God, listen, if you don't intercede with me and get in my life, I'm going to honor. Because I was so hurt and so devastated, I didn't have anywhere to turn. Here's what happened in that short phase of healing in my life. God started to show up in my life. Just by saying, I need you, he started to answer prayers. Just by going towards him, he kind of ran to me. He started to surround me with people in my life that were so loving and so caring. And as I started to heal from the hurt of the whole thing, I started looking at my life and thinking, do you know what I was doing? I had like a center throne of my life, and this girl was the centerpiece of the throne. And the stuff I was doing, work, relationship, friends, and stuff, life was kind of all revolving around this person. When the person was gone, not because, I removed this person walked, I'm looking at the throne, I'm going, well, what goes there now? I was thinking, well, another girl? I thought, that's stupid. No offense. But it just doesn't make sense. That can happen again. I wasn't trying to be offensive. But why put another person in a place that just you never know? I thought, well, I could be on the throne. I'll live for my pleasure. But to be, I was like, it just doesn't seem to fit either. Well, my career, I'm like, my career, really, I thought the career was to enhance life. It just didn't seem important to me. Prestige, honor, whatever, I'm thinking, none of it seems to fit. And kind of by what happened, I was like, I think God is supposed to be at the center of all of this. And I remember coming to that conclusion saying, God, I want to live my life surrounding you. And it started to free me. I just became free. and the joy that started to invade my life. And you think, I have to give up my life to find joy. Let me explain to you. I wish I was so humble that I just realized it. I wasn't. I was arrogant and proud, and the carpet got ripped out from under me. But as I was falling to my face because I had nowhere else to turn, that's when I realized I was made for God. When He's at the center of everything makes sense. So free to notice people, so free to care about what God's trying to do in the world. Joy that starts to rise up, peace. I wish I could give that to you, but I don't want you to get hurt like I did. So, listen, if you're here, no matter where you're at, I know deep down you want to be happy just like I do. My life as going forward, listen, I've experienced some incredible circumstances, incredible highs, getting married to a real love, having children, seeing the dream of a church getting planted, watching people get transformed by Christ. These are dreams and elations that are incredible. I've also experienced burying both my parents, watching them deteriorate down to nothing as you're holding them as they're falling apart, and then having to be there at their funeral. Like, I've experienced some incredible breaks, incredible betrayals, incredible highs, incredible lows. I'm telling you, the contentedness that's inside me has never left. I now can interpret the circumstances, regardless of what they are, highs and lows, with an inner joy and peace that I'm never destroyed and I'm never too high because of what God's doing in my life. And I'm so free to notice you and what you need. I would love for you all to have that. It starts with Christ. It starts with Jesus, what He did on the cross. He did the same thing He's asking of you. He laid down His life. If He really was the King of Kings, He laid down His kingship to be born like us and to die. He set the template for us. Do you think He did it begrudgingly? The Word says, for the joy set before Him, He endured the cross. So maybe you're sitting here going, okay, I want to die myself. I don't even know what that looks like. So I need to give up my life, and I need to somehow let God take my life, and then I'm going to find contentment. Yes. Okay. Let me give you a little story that might help you figure this out. Okay? Anyone here a great fan of Charles Blondin? Any Blondin fans? Like, crickets. This sucks. This is not working. Like, no Charles Blondin fans. You got no one. You guys are the greatest university in the nation. Some of the most educated people in the world. And no one knows Charles Blondin? I'll put up a picture of him. Maybe you guys will get it right here. Look at that stash. Yeah. Now you guys know Charles Blondin? Crickets. Let me help you with Charles Blondin because it's going to help you make sense. Listen, Charles Blondin was the greatest tightrope walker who's ever walked on tightrope. This guy, don't laugh, Chris. He's crazy. This guy is fantastic. Look at the outfit. Who can pull that off? You have to be able to walk on tightrope to wear that. Listen, Charles Blondin was a great tightrope walker. He roped from one side of Niagara Falls to the other. He was so fantastic, he became famous. And he, back then they didn't have TV or movies, he just kind of walked across tightrope and then he became famous. He was a celebrity. He would go across and people would cheer him on one side. He'd come back and they'd cheer him on the other. He would go back and forth and everyone would cheer. One day he said to the people, he said, listen, how many people think I could put a wheelbarrow on a rope and push it back and forth? They're like, he's like, he takes a wheelbarrow, he walks the girl, and he comes back and awesome. He's a modern day celebrity. Anyway, so then he said, how many of you think I could put a person in a wheelbarrow and take him back and forth? And they're like, and they're all screaming and cheering, and his history says he was just this incredible guy. And they said, I just need a volunteer. Just one. Everyone's like, no. It's awesome. I mean, isn't that what it's like? When Jesus is saying, listen, will you just jump in my direction? Just give up your life. Trust me. What you're living for is going to enslave you. Let go of that. If you really could get everything you want, and you actually did get everything you want, you gain the whole world, you'd simply forfeit your soul. Would you simply get rid of that enslavement and jump into my life? That's what it would look like for you. So you have to say to God, all right, out of trust and out of faith, I'm going to put my life in the living room. And I'm not talking about praying a prayer when you were 12 years old. I'm not talking about, okay, choose someone to set people in. I'm talking about a life lived where we pick up the cross and carry it and say, I'm going to walk and follow Jesus. It's unconventional, I know. But that's where the content and freedom lies. So ask the band to come back, and I'm going to ask you guys to stand up. Let's kind of like change the setting for a second. Let's all stand up. Stretch it out, okay? Charles Blondin, nothing else. Remember things. 3 minutes ago. Great mustache. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Like, wherever you're at, and I know some, like, you've been trying to follow Jesus for a long time, and at this time, just kind of close your eyes and bow your head and just start saying to God, God, help me for those times I try to turn around out of the wheel. You know? Help me continue to follow you. Maybe for you, that's what you're saying today to God. Just say, God, give me the power to keep following you, even in the midst of my selfishness. For others in this room, you know, you were just like Ed at 20. You believed in Jesus. You knew what he did on the cross. But you've been living life for you. Would you consider now what it would look like to jump in the wheelbarrow with Jesus? Would you consider that? Would you talk to God about that right now between you and him? Just talk. If you feel like you're far from God, do you know that he died for your sin? Here's what it would look like for you. You simply say to God, I believe in what you did on the cross and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I want to turn my life to you. I want to be a Christ follower. God, would you have me? Please forgive me. This is what he wants. He's not out trying to take something from you. He's trying to draw you towards himself. For you, maybe it's just talking to God and saying, God, I want to give my life to you. Please forgive me for living life for me. So as you're talking to him, I'm going to pray, and we're going to sing a couple songs. I just want to encourage you. Embrace Jesus. Jesus, I know that in my life I have been selfish and I've lived my life for me. God, I appreciate so much that you forgive me when I try to take up my life and live for myself. I ask you to forgive me. For I know, God, that I found so much peace in just living for you. I found contentment, meaning, simply being freed up for myself to actually notice what it is that you're trying to do in others around me. God, I pray that you would make us in this room into people who are so connected to you and what you're trying to do that we would have an influence on everyone around us, whether going into the field we're going into, or whether the co-workers, or whether the classmates, or in our families. God, I pray for those who feel far from you that you gently draw them towards yourself. Have your way with us.